Welcome to the Digital Amateur Television Experimenters Night. This is VK7 OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania. Amateur radio is a worldwide hobby that has many different aspects. Digital television is just one of the many modes and areas that are covered. Maybe you're interested in becoming involved in the DATV Experimenters Nights. You realise that you do not have to be a radio amateur or need any ATV equipment to participate anywhere in the world. Also participate on the night by coming up to the Queen's Domain club rooms. Yes, right on top of the Queen's Domain in the heritage-listed Coast Wireless Station. You never know, we might get you in front of the camera or behind doing one of the many roles during the night. We get underway with our program on a Wednesday night from 7:30 p.m. local time. We'll see you soon. This is VK7 OTC.
Oh, that was a bit of a nasty transition, wasn't it? Anyway, this is VK7 OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night. And Justin, VK7 TW at the microphone. And given I'm the only one in the studio at this point in time, I'm going to take my mask off. So tonight we've got a fairly full night. We've got some SOTA stuff, we've got some Pluto stuff, we've got some LED lighting stuff, we've got a UFO stuff as well, so that'll all become clear. Some magazine review stuff, and also some radio firsts for Tasmania that have been uncovered by Richard, VK7RO, and I used in the presentation, and I thought it would be good to get those out and about, with letting the amateur radio community actually know that there are quite a few radio firsts in Tasmania. So yeah. I am watching the streaming channel on the chat. Please, if you're watching, let us know that you're watching, where you're coming in from. Say hello, questions, whatever. I'll keep an eye on there. Oh yes, now Murray, UFO stuff. So yeah, you can see I have it in my hot little hands. So UFO stuff. So there you go. I'll keep that until the end, and so I'll keep everybody in suspension until then. So yeah, we've got a fairly full night. So I'll get underway. I showed a few weeks ago, a couple of the SOTA awards that I suddenly realised I was actually eligible for. So the first one was the 1,000 points. I got to 1,000 points summit to summit when I did Mount Van Dyke a couple of weeks ago, and then the Shack Sloth. I actually was eligible for this back in the 31st of December 2019, which is a very telling date, because that's a double points day where we get to the end of the year, and it's the UTC year, And so the UTC year here in Tasmania and down the eastern seaboard, of course, occurs at 11 o'clock in the morning. So if you can get up to your summit before 11 o'clock and make the requisite 4 contacts or more, then you can rework everybody after 11 o'clock, because basically you're in a new UTC year. So New Year's Day is double points day in SOTA speak. So now, okay, you know about that. This arrived in the post. So this is a very impressive little box. And hello from Anthony, VK7AG, AG. I've got to keep stopping myself saying the L. But Anthony, how you going? So if I'm going to do this slightly more nicely than I did the intro. Now, this arrived in the post. It is called the Ice Block from Iverlocky. Now, and Iverlocky is, yes, it is from Scotland. And Scotland and the UK are where SOTA started. And so we're going back to our SOTA roots. If I open this up and I turn it over, this is a certificate of authenticity. This ice block was made entirely by hand in Dingwall, which is an ancient capital in the beautiful Scottish Highlands. Using a secret technique, the craftsman created a unique running scallop, and I'll show you that in a minute, on the edge of the raw glass. All corners and edges are then ground to a matte white finish, and no other ice block will ever be the same, so they're all unique. Epitomising the surroundings of their birthplace, ice blocks emulate the rugged mountains and wild rough terrain of the Highlands. Combined with specialist engraving, your ice block is a presentation piece to be proud of. Care of your ice block by regularly washing it by hand, etc., and make the scallops glisten. So, if I open it up, now I probably need to put something white under it. Hang on. So you can get the full effect. That's a bit better. So this is the scalloped edges that they talk about here, and it's you can see just in here that it's the award for the shack sloth. So this is the shack sloth award, and you can order these along with your certificates, and they engrave your call sign and the date that you received it on there, and it's quite nice because it stands up. It stands up on its edge. Oh, there you can see the scalloped edge and the lights, and each side is quite different. Is quite a unique chip. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but anyway, that's the ice block from Iverlocky in Scotland. So, and to give you an idea about how big it is, it's about the size of your hand. So very nice little engraved and quite unique little SOTA award. So I've got a little way to go before I can get my Mountain Goat award, but anyway, working on that one. I think we're at 300 points or something, or pretty close to it. So that's the SOTA award. Now, last week I showed the. Yes, I agree, Anthony. Oh, fancy. Yes, it is quite fancy actually, and especially when it comes in its cute little box. When I took it out of the packaging that came from the UK, I just sort of went, ooh, okay, this is something to behold and a little bit special. So anyway, now I commented last week. I showed the Langstone project that I'm working on, the microwave SDR. One of the questions that came through during that was, can you lock the Pluto? So GPS lock the Pluto, provide it with a reference frequency, and yes, you can. I have been doing a little bit of reading. The AMSAT DL group, so that's the German AMSAT group, they have a way of, and quite a well described modification. The oscillator that's in there you can disable. You can ground a pin, turn the oscillator off, and you basically inject another oscillator. So there is certainly a way, and there's at least a couple of amateurs who have produced either the circuit or a little printed circuit board that you can use to lock that frequency. So the answer to the question is yes, you can lock the Pluto, which is fantastic for the microwave experimenters amongst us with the weak signal modes. You can lock the Pluto, and the Pluto, just so you know, goes all the way up to up to 6 gigs fundamental, and then starts to go into harmonic mixing, all the way up to 10 gigs. There is some 24 gig experimenters. I'm not sure how much you get out in the way of a signal at 24 gigs, but at 10 gigs there is an acceptable signal output. You do need to filter out some of the other harmonics and the way that you actually get there through harmonic mixing, but you can get a 10 gig signal out of it. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. I certainly will be doing the modification for the GPS locking, because it is that is something that I really do want to do, and find it useful. So I think you can only lock it through an input frequencies of between 20 and 50 megs. So 10 megs is out, but anyway, that's not insurmountable. I know the Leo Bodner locking GPS locked frequency reference goes from, I think, 800 hertz to it's hundreds of megahertz. So from that perspective, I don't think that's a problem that it's not 10 megs. So anyway, so it is an option. Now, LED lights. Okay. We have, right at the moment, we have 2 fluoros that have triphosphor tubes in them. The triphosphor tubes are so that we get the right light temperature. The triphosphor ones give you 3 different light temperatures in the one phosphor, and so they're not quite as harsh. This one's a bit of a harsh white one, which I think is a single phosphor, whereas this one over here is actually a triphosphor tube, and you can see that it's got a slight pinkish tinge to it, whereas this one's quite a hot white one. Well, we're looking to change these tubes away from fluorescent lights, and Larry, VK7WLH, very kindly donated to the cause a piece of extruded aluminium that had a strip of LEDs in it. Unfortunately, those LEDs are needed about 70 to 80 volts to get them to start to light. We're just changing color temperature a little bit there, and so what we used was the aluminium extrusion. We cut it in half. We put on here strings of LEDs that are white, that we've been using for the panel lighting, LED lighting. And if you just hold that thought, I have one I prepared earlier. Which is probably going to blow the temperature away here. But now this is, oh no, there we go. That's turned everything. It's turned the iris right down. But anyway, that's a strip of 12 volt LEDs on the aluminium. The aluminium does get warm, just warm, which is good. Takes about 1.2 amps for 3 strips of these of this length of I don't know, just a little under a metre, I think. So we'll be replacing the fluoro tubes with these and then I suspect adjusting the light temperature. I can probably get some interesting effects here, but anyway. So that's the LED lighting strips that we're going to be using in the studio to replace the fluoros. So that's a little project for later. Hopefully I'll have it in by next week. I'll take those fluoro mounts and we'll see how we go. Now to the UFO. Now, who would like to? We've got a few people who have called in. Who would like to have a guess as to what the UFO is? I'll just put it out there. We've got a. I'll show you what it looks like up close and personal. So this is what the fluoro looks like. The UFO looks like. UFO looks like. It's got a little bubble on it. It does have a couple of adjustments on the bottom, so it's fairly precise. And it's got a wire that comes out the side that's just been cut off. It's got two glass domes, and then there is a bit of a black material in the middle. So anyone want to have a guess as to what this is? And if you work for the Bureau of Meteorology, don't say what it is, because you'll know what it is. You would have potentially seen one of these at the Bureau of Meteorology. No, it's not a smoke alarm. Anthony, it's not a smoke alarm. No. No smoke is needed. Laser level, no. Murray, not a laser level either. It does need to be, as you can see, these little, bit like a surveyor's tripod, where you've got the what are they called? Try something that gets you all level, so you can level up your thingo here. Any other guesses? Any other guesses? Going. Come on, there's got to be someone out there who knows what the UFO is. And it only cost me $10, and you can get it from my favourite shop. So the Resource Tip Shop. And yes, it does have a label under here that tells you what it is, but I'm not going to reveal that just yet. Any other guesses? Well, I have to say that Rex did work for the Bureau of Meteorology, so he was their radiosonde guru. Did know what it was, got very close to what it was. Anyway, it is a Pyranometer. And I can hear you asking, that doesn't make me any wiser as to what it is. A Pyranometer, pyro, meaning fire, it is a instrument that measures the irradiance from the sun. So if you want to know how many watts per square metre the sun is currently putting out, you need one of these. And you set it up with its little level, so that it's looking at the whole sky. So any light that's coming from the sun comes in through these two 180 degree glass domes, which focuses all the energy onto that little black plate, which has a thermocouple in it. And Rex quite rightly pointed out that it probably has two thermocouples, one that's measuring the temperature of the device and one that's measuring the temperature of that little plate and giving you the difference. And it puts out, in this particular case, the sensitivity, it says on the side here, is 20.45 microvolts per watt metre squared. So watts metre squared, watts times metre squared. It's actually designed and built in Melbourne, would you believe? So is an actual current device. You can buy them. You can go onto the web and you can download the manual for them, which of course when I got home I put in the model number from Middleton Solar Pyranometer, EQ08, and you come up with a manual. And all the details, and this particular manual is dated March 2021, so this is a current device. And who would like to, now, another guess, who would like to have a guess as to what it is what you would need to fork out to buy one of these new off the shelf from Middleton Solar in Melbourne. And it's not $10. Bit more than that. Quite a few orders of magnitude more than that. So who would like to have a guess? Come on, Murray, Anthony. It's a calibrated device. Gives you the calibration on here. So who would like to have a guess as to how much it costs for a brand spanking new one? Come on, Anthony. And it is a beautifully made device, and all very nicely machined. All of the adjustments and everything, and you can put it on a tripod or a fixed mount, and then adjust it so that the levels. Oh, Murray is actually. Murray put in $2,754.19 and then said approximately, and Anthony put in 2,000. Well, Murray, you are closest and get the prize. It's $2,800. So this is $2,800 worth of equipment, Pyranometer. I can't believe it's worth that much, but it is a beautifully made device, and I intend to put it into service to tell me how much sun is hitting my my roof or my solar panels. So there you go. That's a Pyranometer. And if I just bear with me, because I can show you what's inside. There we are. There is a very nice technical drawing of what is actually inside. Let's go in a bit here. So you can see there is the sensor array, that's the black thing in the middle. There are the two glass domes, the outer dome and the inner dome, that focus everything in there. There is the... now this one doesn't have an angle socket, it's actually just got a gland that comes out the side. So that's a little bit different to this drawing, but the rest of it's the same. And then there is a desiccant orange silica gel. The rest of it is filled with silica gel. I assume to keep it dry. There is an option to put a heater in it. I assume for cold climates to keep everything at a sort of a stable temperature. Just saying, but most people measure sunlight on solar panels in watts out. Well, they do. Murray, they definitely do. In power out, well and truly. Well, this gives it to you in microvolts per watt square meter, watts per square meter. So there you go. You can tell how inefficient your solar panels are by looking at the Pyranometer and going, I'm not getting that out of my solar panels. My solar panels are very inefficient. I think their solar panels are at something like about 30% efficiency, I think, or something like that. There's a golden number that they're trying to reach with new technology in solar panels. But anyway, but you make a good point, Murray. You make a very good point. It was with a whole lot of hydro old test equipment. So I'm assuming, rightly or wrongly, I'm assuming that it's actually a piece of hydro equipment that was taken out of service, and by the dents in the side of the cover, I suspect it was then thrown into the skip. But anyway, fortunately, it didn't break anything else. So and it certainly you can get output out of it. So anyway, Pyranometer. So the things that are out there. So put in Pyranometer into Google, and you'll get a whole lot of things. In fact, one of the videos we've got tonight is on how you use pyranometers for our RF viewers. So so there you go. Now, DUBUS Magazine. The other day I went through one of these articles when Rex was in the studio. This is the 50th anniversary edition, Q4 of 2021, and there is a whole bunch of other ooh, hang on, I just did something that made things go crazy. Okay, now some of the other articles that are of interest in the magazine. For those who don't know, DUBUS is a bilingual magazine. You get it both in German and English. You get the articles in both German and English. There's a 12 gig 8th prescaler in here from Gerard Hoffmann, who is DK4XP, a German author. I needed a prescaler to extend my SR620 counter to 12 gigahertz to monitor a dielectric oscillator. So what he's got is a prescaler here. So very nice in a machined box. It just goes through the circuit, the whole bit, gives you all of the layouts on the PCBs, etc., and then shows you how he set the prescaler up. You've then got it in German. Now, interesting article about a closer look by Joachim Koppen, who's a regular contributor to DUBUS, one of the team of DL0SHF. You'll probably know that call sign. Now, closer look at filling factors. Now, filling factors in relation to parabolic dishes, they define and compute the filling factor as the fraction of the antenna beam which is filled by the source. So, depending on what beam width you've got on your dish and what you're looking at, whether it's the moon or it's one of the other planets or a satellite, etc., it's the fraction of the antenna beam which is filled by the source. So Joachim has come up with a JavaScript tool which enables you to calculate it for your particular dish, and goes through how it's calculated and what the little JavaScript application does, and then its application to transmission for EME, and then goes into references, etc. Then goes into the same thing in German. So if you're brushing up on your technical German, this is a great magazine. Daily Microwave Propagation Index for Central Europe. I found this a fascinating article because it showed in Central Europe, and I don't know whether we can pick that up, the number of beacons, and we're talking about microwave beacons here, from 1296, so 23 centimetres, all the way up to 24 gigs. And they are dotted all over Europe, Central Europe, even across here into the UK, from anything from 23 centimetres all the way to 24 gigs. So a few comments about the daily microwave propagation index, and some analysis that von Klaus Nie has gone into. The second article, part 2 of the high gain dual polarised and low noise disc yagi for 23 centimetres, and goes into a little bit of the theory and why it is low noise and high gain. Now, let me go through the German. Okay, more is not always more. This is a fascinating article looking at sunspots and HF propagation. And it's interesting, there's a diagram in here that points out one of the, where is it? Here. Here. November the 14th, 2012, the MUF, so the maximum usable frequency, suddenly halves. So what we've got, this is the maximum usable frequency measured, and all of a sudden, on the 14th, it's nothing. And he's compared it to a couple of other measures of sunspots, etc. And So the sunspots number, yes, it adds to the picture, but it's not the whole story. That's what I took away from this particular article. So he goes into a lot of analysis and considering, but interesting, fascinating article, absolutely fascinating article, and lots of measurements and lots of comparisons. What about errors in measuring measurements using directional couplers? And it goes into an article of the errors in directional couplers and what you can expect from directional couplers. And I think that might be... Oh, and then we go into 10 gig aircraft scatter, which we've already gone into with Rex and Roger in America. So DUBUS Magazine, the 50th anniversary edition. I noticed that Alan Devlin, VK3XPD, who is the person in Australia who organises the distribution of DUBUS, went out to the microwave lists, and it was the final call for anybody who was interested in subscribing to DUBUS Magazine. Went out with a call the other day for final calls. So if you're interested, get in contact with VK3XPD. If you don't know how to, let me know, and I'll put you on to Alan. So DUBUS Magazine, fantastic magazine if you're into microwave experimenting. Now, let me try something here. Let's go to there. Okay. Now, last week I was asked to give a humorous look at ham or amateur radio in Tasmania for the Kingston School for Seniors last Wednesday. And this was a great group of seniors who I gave this presentation to, and there was 3 or 4 people came up to me afterwards, and there was something that resonated with them. Oh, that was a bad pun, wasn't it? There was something that resonated with them about different aspects of the talk. Many of them knew amateur radio operators, or many of them knew Medhurst equipment. So all sorts of things. But one of the things that I just wanted to point out, there's a couple of slides that I put in here, which was all about radio firsts. Let me go. Now, okay, zoom through. Now, one of the things that I point out about a radio first is about Pop Medhurst. Now, Pop Medhurst, or Frederick William Medhurst, was an experimenter came to Australia in the late 1800s. Was a good friend of Alexander Graham Bell, which was absolutely fascinating, and also patented some telephony system, a telephone system that's used in the trenches, and sold quite a few of those to the Defence Force. In 1901, the Duke and Duchess of York, who were later to become King George V and Queen Mary, came to Australia, sailed to Australia to open the new Commonwealth Parliament in 1901, and then did a tour around Australia. And when their vessel and the Royal Navy vessels entered the Derwent, Pop Medhurst and also H.P. Hallam had set up a spark transmitter and a receiver down at Blinking Billy Point, and sent a welcome message to the Navy, which was acknowledged. Now, this was the first ship-to-shore radio transmission in Tasmania, so a first for Tasmania. It wasn't the first in Australia. There was some amateurs in New South Wales, I think, who also did the same thing. But it was certainly the first in Tasmania. There is a commemorative plaque down on Blinking Billy Point, if you're ever down there, up on the light, one of the light navigation lights. And Pop went on to found the Medhurst Electric Company. That's the the Medhurst Electrical Works in 1919 in Argyle Street, and went on to become one of the first Tasmanian emitters with a call sign 7AH, when it before it was actually the international scheme was come up with, so, and later to become VK7AH, and appears on our WIA honour roll quite a bit. So that's one of the firsts. Another first, okay, in 1906 there were two Marconi stations set up, one in Devonport and one in Queenscliff in Victoria. And we consider it to be the first quote-unquote professional wireless link over about 200 miles. And in fact, the picture of the book, the commemorative book, was reprinted in 2006, and I actually have a copy of the reprint. And there was a big centenary celebration that the governor went to, and that picture in the middle is of the centenary cake that had a wonderful little antenna across the cake, and the picture on the right is actually, I was taken a couple of weeks ago when I was in Devonport. In East Devonport, on a very nondescript bit of road in East Devonport, there is this little memorial to this particular event called the first radio transmissions between in the southern hemisphere, I think it says, between Victoria and Tasmania on the 25th of July. I think it was the 25th. 25th or the 12th of July 1906. So another first for Tasmania. Antarctica. So this is another first. So for those who don't know, the very building that we're in this little studio, this is a picture of it when it was first built, and you can see that's the building that we're in right at the moment, and there is a 180-foot Oregon pine bulk. So it came in as ballast. This Oregon pine wood came in as ballast, and then they bolted it all together into this 180-foot antenna. I really think we probably should try and put this up again, and go back to heritage values. Hi. But that's the original 1912 Spark radio transmitting station, the Coast Wireless station. And as it turned out, it was also the spark transmitter that was in here was built by the what's called referred to as the wireless priest, who is Archibald Shaw. Shaw had built a station on King Island in 1911, and then also got the contract to put the spark transmitter in in Hobart. Now, of course, Mawson went south to Commonwealth Bay and also set up a radio station on Macquarie Island. Now, the thought is that this station certainly communicated with Macquarie Island. Not sure it communicated with Commonwealth Bay, but Macquarie Island would have relayed from Commonwealth Bay. This is the replica that is in the Mawson's Hut museum that John Gillies built a replica and donated it to the museum. It's on loan to the museum, and you can see it down at the Mawson's Hut Museum. And then this is this little building here today. So another first. So communicates with Antarctica. Now, another first. Down in Antarctica, one of the party down there was Walter Hannam, who is this guy here in his World War I outfit. Now, Walter Hannam went south with Mawson. That's the Telefunken spark set that he's using. So he operated going south. Came back, operated in the what is the newly formed Anzac Wireless Company, later to become the Signal Corps. Hannam went on to become the secretary of the Wireless Institute of Australia in 1926 and 27. and was also a very vocal advocate for the protection from interference, and we're talking in 1926 and 27, and also for lower licence fees. And I'll just make the comment there, we've got exactly the same issue right now, and we're 100 years further on. So just fascinating there, and also a little bit of fascinating history that I got from the Wireless Men and Women at War WIA document. Was Hannam was secretary at the time when there was a whole bunch of people from the Tasmanian division of the Wireless Institute of Australia and also the Hobart Radio Research Club, who was another amateur radio club, through a complicated manoeuvre joined the International Amateur Radio Union before the national body did. And so what it actually effectively did was force the national WIA to become a member of the IARU. So that's a fascinating little bit of history that is pretty much unknown. But that was also at the time that Hannam was secretary in 1926 and 27. So just a fascinating little bit of history there. Oh, we still awake? I can hear snoring out there. So yes. Anyway, that's all I'm. That's all I'm going to show you this time. That's you've had your lot for today. But anyway, some fascinating historical firsts for radio in Tasmania, and I might grab some other slides from that in a later episode. Now, I just want to do a reminder quickly for our March presentation night, which is next week, which is actually next Wednesday night. We have a Focus on Foundation Licence Holders Forum. And so what we're holding is, please, if you're a new or an old foundation licence holder, please consider coming along and letting us know what your frustrations are and what you need to do to consider to get on the air. So what your frustrations have been getting on the air, or if you're not on the air, what your frustrations are now. New, old foundation license holders, if you've upgraded, fantastic. Please let us know what your frustrations and challenges are in getting on the air as a foundation licensee. Where to get information, who to speak to, who can you speak to if you want to, start to get into weak signal digital modes or whatever. So what we want you to do is, if you can email to the email address reast@reast.asn.au, reast@reast.asn.au, your frustrations, your comments, your good things, your bad things, the good, the bad and the ugly. We're not going to identify anybody who asked questions unless you want to be, but we'll put those questions and those comments into a sort of a consolidated structure that we can use on the night to go through, and hopefully link up the inexperienced with the experienced, and hopefully help you get onto the air, or at least put you on a track that hopefully gets you on the air. So any foundation licensees, please let us know what your frustrations are, your concerns, what you would like to know, what you found really useful when you first started as a foundation licensee. So that's next week from 7:30. We will be streaming it and going out on RF. So please come along. Now, our first Wednesday night in April, so that's April the 6th, we've got Andrew Johns, VK7AJ. Now, Andrew in his spare time, which is a bit of an ironical statement there if you know Andrew. Andrew, when he's not working, actually is a broadcast audio technician for a couple of the big networks that travel around doing the big sporting events, and this is all the different types of cricket, all the different types of football, all the different types of basketball, and they travel around with their big Pantechnicons and set them all up and broadcast to a variety of networks. One of the things that Andrew's going to go through is he had the opportunity to do the audio for the test when it was in Hobart out at Belrive, and that he said was absolutely fascinating, and he's going to let us know all about what that's like, with lots and lots of pictures, lots and lots of stuff around the technology, which is all very impressive. So he's our presenter for April the 6th. Should be a fantastic night. So there you go. Now let's just check in on where the James Webb Telescope is. Now let's go to, there we go. Now the James Webb Telescope. Let's see where we're at. Where is Webb? So we're now at the Lagrange point, have been there for a couple of weeks. What they are doing right at the moment is a whole lot of alignments, and you probably heard this on, if you're tuned to any of the science channels or the science YouTube channels or whatever. They got their first picture from the James Webb Telescope, which I have to say was a little disappointing. But they also said, hang on, we haven't actually aligned the mirrors yet, which is basically what they're doing in here, and we're up to, I think, the second mirror, and there's a whole lot of things they go through as they align each of the mirrors to the central point, the central sensor. And this is absolutely fascinating. This gives you an idea of the temperature differential on some of these bits of equipment in space. On one side, on what they call the hot side, so this is the side to the sun, you're talking about it being 53 degrees C for the sun shield structure average temperature, 53 degrees C. On the cool side of that structure, it is minus 228 degrees C. So there is almost a 200 degrees difference between one side and the other. And you've got an instrument that is a precision instrument that they're aligning these mirrors to with a temperature differential of nearly 200 degrees C. So this is pretty special stuff out in the middle of nowhere, out in the Lagrange point, sitting there. So absolutely fascinating, and I've been putting this this website up. This is from JPL, from the labs, the Jet Propulsion Labs, and shows you a fantastic real-time representation of all of the stuff they're doing with the James Webb Telescope right at the moment. So this is a very expensive device that is going to see into our past more than any other telescope has been able to. So worth a bit of a look. Anyway, you can tell that I'm the science geek who likes this sort of stuff. Now, I'm not going to show you this in depth. I'm going to leave this until our next ATV night. But this little film container, now this is a 35 millimeter film container that has a very cute, very cute little transmitter in it. Let's zoom in here. Very cute little 2 meter transmitter from Bionics. That's the microprocessor unit, and that's the RF, and you can see it's 2 meters. You can program it. You go in through that 3.5mm jack there, and you can program it. There's a little USB interface that a little interface where you can program in the frequency and also the call sign, etc. And it all fits very neatly along with a little LiPo battery. So a little 3.7 volt 650 milliamp hour LiPo battery also fits in the film container. There's a little let me zoom out a little bit. Little antenna on here, a little 23 centimeter, 70 centimeter, and 2 meter little stub antenna, and that's a Fox for hidden transmitter hunts. So you can a MicroFox MF15S 2 meter at 15 milliwatt Fox hunt transmitters. So I'll get this programmed up and show you it working next time. So we've got the for anybody who's been into the club rooms, you'll see the 2 meter tape measure yagis, which are up on the repeater rack that we use for fox hunts. So our next open day we'll have some fox hunts using the little Bionics Fox. So fascinating little box of tricks. Anyway, that's our lot for this week. Let me just check. There's been no other comments. No, that's all right. We'll just put out a quick call. This is VK7 OTC. Just putting out a call for any comments or questions for the DATV Experimenters Night. Oh, there was a dropped carrier there. Last call for any DATV Experimenter Night comments. This is VK7 OTC. No? Okay. They're all quiet tonight. We've stunned them. So thanks for those who were watching on the stream. There were quite a few, and those that put in the comments. And Murray, your prize is in the mail. Hi. This is VK7 OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night, and we'll catch you in a fortnight's time. Next week is our Foundation Forum, and please send in your comments to reast@reast.asn.au, and we'll catch you in a fortnight's time. 73.